Welcome back, one and all. It is currently 11:55 a.m. on this Saturday morning. It's still morning, just barely. January 3rd, 2026. Well, you might be able to see that we do have some very light fallout of frozen precipitation taking place. This is the first that I have actually seen signs of the greater light, which is right there. That is basically the first appearance that we've had of that today, albeit being very filtered. And of course here, another half hour, give or take, I'll be headed back out into the woods, which I do not plan on doing any type of a recording from out there. No, actually, that is why I am doing this recording. It's been an interesting morning for thoughts being pondered and revelations through new information. And basically began with an interaction through comment and reply that pertained to owls, in which, within my reply to a comment, I had listed a few little factoids, if you will, pertaining to the symbology of owls. Well, as I got scrolling through today's recommended watch list on this platform, lo and behold, a video came up that irked me quite severely, as it was over the projected plan of the next 30 years and the culling of almost 500,000 barn owls, as they have been deemed to be an invasive species in a certain location here in the United States. So over a 30-year period, they want to kill off approximately close to 500,000 of these birds. And one of the excuses is, of course, the main one being that of it being an invasive species because it has encroached upon the territory of the spotted owl. Now then, there are laws that protect all birds of prey, or most all birds of prey. But yet, of course, when you're dealing with this hypocritical type of government controlling factors, it becomes very irritating, frustrating. And we have a jet aircraft, a whistler. Oh, one of our whistlers coming over. It typically denotes that there will be more of a change in the weather scenarios when they come across. Oh, a nice little distraction there from my talking point topics of discussion. Well, it's still whistling away. Okay, so anyways, I am not one at all in favor of any type of culling of any creature, regardless of the excuses within narratives laid out. And I do not state reasons, I say excuses. But that's just a matter of my opinion only. But if you're going to go to that extreme of a 30-year period, who in the hell is going to be around to see the end results? Will those that have begun this effort, will they still be around to see its completion? That's one of my irritations right there. You know, these projected plans that's, beyond 7 years, that's ridiculous, in my opinion. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to go according to this narrative of, okay, we need to call invasive species, let's go a little bit radical and say, or just kind of imagine it to be in this sense of logic, which is very illogical. But why not? Or why do we have a deportation process? Why did we have a massive deportation process rather than a culling of an invasive species through migration and immigration? Okay? Do you understand my logic or illogic aspects behind all that? If you're going to go extremes, why not go full tilt? I'm one that's how I approach most things. We now have another jet that's audible. I'm coming over. This is ridiculous. Okay, so let's just go a little bit further. This is going to take much longer than what I had previously anticipated. My thoughts are a little bit scattered. But I decided, okay, let's do a little bit of research, if you will. See what kind of rabbit holes we can wander down. Because another oxymoron to all of this is the factor of, well, let's go ahead and kill off anything deemed as being an invasive species, but yet let's go ahead and create or possibly recreate new species from old species, or just brand new species through hybridization, through gene manipulations. Let's play God, right? Isn't it what it's all about? Now, as far as the calling of humans as an invasive species, I'll get back to that shortly. Now, I would also like to state that over the years, I have developed a fondness for all creatures, great and small, with the exception of stink bugs. I do not care much for stink bugs. I don't know, get a better viewing now of them. Okay, I'll continue on. So even with those, I don't kill them. I don't swat flies. I don't smack mosquitoes. Live and let live is my motto. But we now have the situation, once again, to where many out there are playing so-called God, right? And to the point of just recently, it was claimed that the dire wolf was brought back from extinction. Well, that's a, if you want to call it a half truth, yeah. But let's go on with a little bit more. So, we also have had an animal that has literally gone extinct twice, or so the storyline goes, and that is of the Pyrenean ibex, or ibex, whatever, which basically was cloned, and the cloned baby died shortly after birth within a few minutes due to a lung issue. So, in which the ibex or ibex, whatever, is basically a type of a deer, all right? And so now we go from creation and culling of animals to years of prediction, prophecy, so on and so forth. And we'll tie this all in, right? Because, okay, in the year 2027, and I am one for three basic numbers of significance: 17, 27, and 33, and variations thereof, as they have become very significant and symbolic in many forms and fashions and categories. So, in 2027 is the projected year for the return of the woolly mammoth, of course, being cloned, and of course, like the dire wolf or any other cloned animal, it's not really the same thing that is being brought back. It's a copy, basically a copy of a copy of a copy, right? Because you lose quality through every copy, so to speak. Well, this is one big copy that is not a full copy, if you will. So, from 2027, let's jump ahead to 2030, in which we had this thing called Agenda 2030, which kind of parlayed and paralleled with the Georgia Guidestones, in which, by the year 2030, there was to be a massive, basically extinction. Yeah, I can hear Muggsy crying out for me. I don't know where he's at. What are you doing? Where are you at? Wow. So, anyways, there was supposed to be a major aspect of population control by the year 2030. A culling of humans, if you will. Right? Okay, so that is where I wanted to go with that. Let's continue on and try to get this quick. Because in the year of 2033, 33 marks the 2000th year of the crucifixion, resurrection, and the birth of the church. Okay? And it's supposed to be a year of spiritual reflection and technological foresight, AI, and robotics. So let's go backwards in times with years of numbers, if you will, to the year 666. 666. Well, believe it or not, that is when the dating system that we all use today began, when a Christian monk decided to make a dating system which would revolve, or basically centered around, the birth of Jesus in the year 666. In the year 999, as we have yet another aircraft flying over, you hear it? And the snow is getting a little heavier. Yeah, adding to the mix. So in the year 999, society basically had three grand divisions: the clergy and its minions, the feudal nobility, and the peasants. Three divisions. And basically, a bishop had summed it up by stating that those three divisions were those who pray, those who fight, and those who labor. These are the three divisions that will come about once again, future tense. Now, if you're familiar with numerology, then you should also be familiar with a society of secrets in which numbers play a large part. And of course, this society has its own religion. This society had a lot to do with the modern Bible, which the modern Bible, basically, most are well acquainted with the King James Version, and most of those that are awake understand that that book has had many changes through the so-called Mandela effect. I, for one, have seen with my own eyes a change take place to one word. The word was simply the, but it was dropped down to the bottom of a page in my Bible, and then in front of my eyes, and it was not spelled THE, it was scrambled. I looked away, looked back. That word was no longer at the bottom of the page, but had been placed back into the verse, or placed into a verse. I don't ask anybody to believe me, because I have a hard time believing it myself, and I had a hard time accepting it when it happened. But then when I found out how many changes has taken place to this book, a book which will not speak, or does not speak, of cats, which I praise as being the highest ranking member of the animal species. After all, we have the African lion that is king of the jungle. We have the mystical jaguar of South America. We have the mountain lions of North America. But yet the Bible speaks quite derogatory in terms of the canine or dog. And personally, regardless that I do care for all creatures, large and small, over the years I have lost respect for dogs and dog owners. And of course, well, recently We've seen examples of that in my content. But there's no value for dogs anymore. Seriously. They're a commodity. And that's it. And a waste of money, in my opinion. Unless they are used for hunting, guarding, leading the blind. That's about it, in my viewpoint. But even at that, in the past of my experiences, when I was younger and my family moved out into the country, where we moved to, there was a situation of packs of wild dogs, which really wasn't much of a big deal, other than the factor that most of the population of people in the country out there were deer hunters. And so these packs of dogs would take down deer. Whether for survival or sport, does it really matter? Because, well, humans are the same when it comes down to hunting. Is it for survival or sport? But anyways, and I'm not demonizing anyone through this accounting of, or re-accounting of my past. So anyways, the neighborhood got together, formed basically an agreement to take out these dogs, in which apparently quite a few were killed, but yet a puppy was adopted and became a pet. And actually that dog became a very well-known and respected neighborhood dog. But once again, we got a little bit of a, oxymoron event, kind of hypocritical. Kill off many, but save one, just because of age. When even the young one should have been deemed as a nuisance factor. Yeah. There's pros and cons to everything. And I just wanted to get some things off my chest because, once again, listening to this woman talking about the culling of these owls and basically her being in favor of it, and then she had to make mention of the culling of cats, and that's when, and she didn't go any further because, well, that's a whole nother video. That's when I said, okay, that's it. That's it. Live and let live. Other than possibly for those creatures that were created specifically for domestic purposes. But even at that, the dogs and cats were created for certain purposes and not for companionship, if you will. And then when it comes down to companionship, I don't agree with owning a pet, because to me that is slavery of the animal kind. If an animal comes to you and wants to adopt you, it becomes, or you and it becomes, what is known as familiars, which is a real aspect of bonding. And it really upsets me when people think that they can just go ahead and snatch up any kind of animal off the streets, especially if it's injured. I mean, it's one thing to treat and care for an injured animal and to return it to the wild, or, well, that's how it should be, and not taken in as a pet. I mean, I've even gotten to the point to where I don't believe in having aquariums, terrariums, because I don't even care about zoos. Because, well, my mind's eye, the way it appears today, that's what this planet is nothing more than a zoo and basically a petri dish under examination by possible other entities or beings or what have you. And with that, I am going to leave off. Take care. Have a great one. I wanted to go that much deeper, but this has already gone on long enough. Just wanted to throw more of my thoughts out there. So again, take care. Have a great one.